Hi there. We're going to take a look at patching on the Element. Excuse me. Right now we're in the live screen. I'm going to reach over and just point with the mouse for a moment. It shows us that up in the top left corner. Channels, and this is the channel display that we'll be using on a regular basis, and these are the channels we refer to when we're in the patch screen, which we'll take a look at here in just a moment. So in order to patch, we're actually going to start with a new show, and the way we accomplish that is we come up here to the browser button, the lower section on the typically right screen where it says browser. We use the arrow keys to navigate. If we use the up and down arrow, it'll move us through that screen, and there's a little caret, and using the mouse as a pointer, and there's a little diamond here, which means there's more information. So we use the right arrow to expand that, come down to new, and we hit select. The console by default will do a patch by 1-to-1, or patch 1-to-1, so that's highlighted. We're going to leave that for the moment. Hitting select activates the OK button. So we've just started a new show, and we've patched 1-to-1. And we know that by coming here to the patch button. And again, using the mouse as a pointer. Oops. This is the way the console will actually start off, which is in address mode. The default will come up this way. Address will be first, channel next, and then it'll default to dimmers as our type. So if you're only doing a couple of adjustments, or maybe running using just a generic 1-to-1 patch, this is just fine. We don't need to make any other changes, and we can just start working with our show. If we want to patch one or two things, we can start from this screen. Maybe we want to move address 7 up to channel 10. So we go 7 at 10, enter. It asks for confirmation because we're already patched, and we hit enter again. And now channel 7 is at, address 7 is at channel 10 and as part 2. But we're going to be doing a lot of patching today, so we want to start with a cleared patch. So we're going to come back to our browser, and we're going to start new again. This time we're going to deselect patch 1-to-1, and we're going to select OK. Console resets, and we're now in a 1-to-1 patch. We come to the patch screen. I'm sorry, we're not in a 1-to-1. We are in an unpatched state. So address 1 through, and the console will either have 250 or 500 channels and no channels associated with them. And type is also clear. This is the default mode working in address. So if we want to put address 1 at channel 1, we go 1 at 1. And you'll notice on the command line, it assumes address 1. When we hit add, it selected channel 1. And then we hit enter. And you can continue right on down the line. Since we're not going to be doing 1-to-1, since we unpatched, maybe we're going to do something out of order, and we're going to do 2 at 5, for instance, enter. And maybe 3 at 7, enter. So you kind of get the idea, and you can continue on down the line. You're working off, if you're working off a channel hookup or a dimmer hookup or an instrument schedule that you've jotted all the dimmer numbers down, and that's the order you want to work in, and then this is the way we would do that. If we want to patch multiple addresses to a single channel, it's the same approach. We go channel 4 plus, maybe we'll do 2 in a row, and 5, and we'll go out of order, plus 7. Now we're going to put those all at the same channel, and we'll put those at channel 2, for instance. Oops, missed a key there. At 2, enter. So now channels addresses 4, 5, and 7 are all at channel 2. It associates them with a part, which we'll cover what parts do here in just a moment. We're going to use the mouse as a pointer again, and we're going to take a look down here at our channel, at our address grid. So we've currently patched a couple of addresses to a couple of channels, and you'll notice down here that they highlight as we do that. So let's patch one more. Let's go address 6 at channel 6, just for the heck of it. And notice that it selects it and highlights it at the moment because it's selected up here as well. And anything that's not grayed or selected means that that's available. So that's kind of patching by address. You would use this if you were working off a piece of paperwork like an instrument schedule or a hookup, something like that the address appears first, and you can just go through and type address and then at channel. To work in another format, to talk about the other way we would work, is what we're going to do next is patch some multi-parameter devices, or we're going to build a compound channel. So the thing we want to do at that point is switch over to format, or switch format to patch by channel. So we select the format button. Now we'll notice that channel is first, address is next. Currently these are all assigned as dimmers. We're going to select a channel we haven't used yet, so let's select channel 9 for instance, and we'll go at, and in this case we're going to give the source for a dimmer. We're going to patch it to address 81, but on the front of the source for we want to put a color scroller. So in order to do that and attach them together, we select part 2, and using the mouse, and it's off screen, but I've reached over and I'm using the mouse not as a pointer this time, but to actually interface with the screen, and we select type. And we get a couple of options. Down here on the bottom, we have show favorites, which is kind of the default mode that'll pop up on. These are some just generic types of fixtures, some things we may select. Or manufacturer. When we're on the manufacturer side, on the left, all the manufacturers appear. We have most of the manufacturers that are out there of various devices. So in this case, we're going to select through, and we'll stay with generic. And we're going to come over here, and since I don't know what kind of scroller I want to use, I'm going to select a scroller. So now channel 9, part 2 is assigned as a scroller. The scroller needs to be addressed, so we need to fill that in here. If the DMX stream, the DMX chain, is selected as it's coming in a straight line, we may still be working within that first universe. So we would go at, maybe it's 201 for instance, and enter. So now part 2 is at 201. Typically, though, the way it'll work is you'll use this as the second part of second universe of DMX, and the way we accomplish that is we go at universe 2 slash, and in this case we'll just stay with 1, enter. So now the scroller's address is 1, and it's coming off the second plug on the back of the console, or the second universe. So channel 9, part 1 and part 2 are a scroller. The other thing we could do with this particular type of device, or this particular combination of things, is we might add a moving mirror onto the front. Maybe it's an IQ, for instance. So in this case, we're going to add a new part. So we go part 3. Again, using the mouse not as a pointer, but as an interface. We select type. And we select across our manufacturers until we get to Roscoe, who happens to make the IQ. And we select the IQ here. And now part 3 is an IQ, and it's going to need an address. So we'll go at, and maybe that's addressed at 2/21, and enter. So now we have a compound channel, or channel 9 is 3 pieces. What this does is when we start working with the device, instead of having to select multiple channels, we simply select channel 9, and the controls for these will appear on the screen in a different format, and it'll make life a little easier for us. Instead of having to try to remember where did we put the scroller, it's just going to always appear with channel 9. So the next step is to patch things that are already multiple address. As you notice here with the IQ, it takes 2 addresses, address 21 and 22. Moving light can take a whole lot of channels, anything from just these 2 up to 17 or 30 or 40. So instead of having to remember what those addresses are, we'll do that using the smarts within the console. So let's select 12. We'll do one channel first. So channel 12 is going to become a moving light of some type. So we select type. In this case, we'll make it an ETC revolution. So we select ETC. There's a whole lot of revolution options. This is kind of one of the challenging parts, is figuring out what mode the particular device is in. In this case, we'll go with an original revolution, selected right here, using the mouse again. So it's channel 12 is now an ETC revolution original, and we're going to give it an address and go at 2/, and we'll make it address 101, for instance. Revolution is a 31 DMX value device, so it needs 31 control signals. So 101 to 131 populates that. Rather than having to patch them in order, or patch one at a time, we can also do a range of fixtures this way. So if we go 13 through 16, for instance, and maybe we want to make those all revolutions, So we go type, Revolution Original, at 2/ and we'll make that 201 just because they're in a different part of our facility. So at this point, we now have 201 through 231 is the first revolution, 232 through 236 is the second, and the start addresses for the other two fixtures pop up as 263 and 294. So you patch the fixture first, and then come and jot down these first numbers, and then go to the fixtures and set the addresses. It'll kind of simplify things a little bit and make them in order, rather than having to remember this math as you're trying to patch the fixtures. Another technique is if you wanted to do them one at a time, or if you'd patch the fixtures, if you'd, address the fixtures, you could just jot down those numbers, but then you'd be patching them one at a time. So this is patching them in order. The other thing we can patch is an LED, for instance, which works in exactly the same way. 18 through 21, we'll patch a range of those. Come over here to type, under show favorites, and we'll use a Celador by ETC Vivid 11. And this is a Vivid is a 8-channel device. I just happen to know that off the top of my head. Not that it really matters, because the console will take care of the math for us. If we go at 2/, in this case we'll start at 301 because we've already used 201, and we go enter. Yes, we're going to use those again. 301 through 338, or in the 332, 301 through 308 for the first one, 09. So it patches exactly like a moving light, only in this case it's just going to be color off the LED. These will display a little bit differently in the live display, and we get back to live by coming up here, selecting the live button, and when we come over, using the mouse as a pointing device again, we have our conventional channels up here. The ones we've patched are in the lighter gray. If they have not been patched, they're in the much lighter, the almost black color, so these don't have anything patched. These channels do. The ones that have devices patched, this is the Revolution, so it has focus category, color category, and a beam category. Channel 9 was our color scroller with our IQ, so it has pan and tilt associated with it. And then down here, our Vivid has only color, and then these are the channels associated with the control attributes associated with the color. Each of them has an intensity. We can change this display to only these little tombstones if we want by again using the format key. And we come over, and now we get a high density channel display, which gives us some additional information, which gives us more channels, but a little less information about the particular devices. It is helpful in that, again, channels 13 through 15 show us focus, color, and beam, and I know that because they have little pluses under the 3 categories: focus, color, beam. We get this little wavy line and a little extra bit at the bottom. Channel 9 is a color and movement device, and then channel 21, or 18 through 21, are color only, and they have a plus and only 1 in the middle, which tells us that it's a color parameter. So that's kind of the 2 different ways to look at the information. If we're working mostly with the conventional dimmers and maybe we only have a couple of devices, this is a display we'd want to use. Or if we have more devices, we can come back here to format, or if we want to see more about what's going on with their particular parameters, we hit the format button and we can work in this view where the individual channels are still in those little squares, and then the longer ones become our multi-parameter devices. And that's about it for going over and taking a look at patch. If you have additional questions, the manual is always a great place to reference.